Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today we're going to start the Succah daf test vav. We are going to begin on test vav amud aleph, very top by the Mishnah. Tikra she'ein aleha mazevel. So if you have a situation where you have a house which has a roof without any pitch, basically we just have boards. So the question is, can you use those boards? And Rashi says that stam tikra b'nesarim sheish ben arba. These boards are 4 tfachim. So as we mentioned in yesterday's daf, there could potentially be an issue of gzeres tikra. Rabbi Huda says that Beishami Armim the fakbek v'noitel achas minatayim. He requires you to do two things to be able to show that you're doing it for the sake of a sukkah. First of all, you have to be mafakbek, you have to lift it up, and you also have to remove half of the boards to put schach kosher in between it. You can do one of the two is acceptable. And then Rameir Omer, apparently a new opinion, he says that you should just remove every other board, but he does not hold this din of being mafakbek. So now the Gemara asks, now Bishlam Beis Hillel, I can understand Beis Hillel's explanation. Tamayihu mishum tasam v'nasoi. The problem is tasam v'nasoi because you put it up for the sake of your house, and there's an issue of gzeres tikra, that perhaps there's an issue when it comes to these boards. So therefore, since you have to put it down for the sake of a schach, so all you need to do is one of those two things. Therefore, even though time of the maisa, do one of the two, and that's acceptable. Why is Beishami required to do both? One should be sufficient. So if the whole issue is an issue to rise of tasim and asoy, so b'chadasagi, doing one is enough. If you lift it up, it's not tasim and asoy anymore because now you're putting it on properly. If there's an issue of gzeres tikra, that people are going to look at it and they're going to think that, hey, I could use my house, might as well sit in my house, so why do I need to sit in the sukkah? So in that case, the fakbek's not enough, because if you're mafakbek, people may not see that, and they're still going to just see the boards. But if you remove every other one, people are not going to mistake in that to compare it to the boards in their house, because every other one of them is missing. The question is, why does Beis Shammai require both? So, mishum gzeres tikra. The issue is really gzeres tikra. So if it's gzeres tikra, why does he say both? Not really. This is how you're supposed to read Beis Shammai. Even if you did lift it up, that doesn't count, because the issue is gzeres tikra. By gzeres tikra, you have to remove every other board, as opposed to the sheet of Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel holds the issue is tasim and asoy, so you can do either one, it's acceptable. The problem is the end of our Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Rameir Omer notlach minatayim avulo yafakbek. So Rameir had it in Beis Shammai. Rameir is basically saying the same thing as Beis Shammai. Rameir is saying that being mafakbek doesn't count. You have to be notlach minatayim, which is because of gzeres tikra. This is what we're establishing what Beis Shammai said. So hakam. According to Rameir, he doesn't feel that there's a machlokas. He doesn't think that Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai disagree. Not that Beis Hillel allows you to do either one. No, he only will allow the sukkah to be good if it is night minatayim. So the question is, my kamash, what exactly is the chiddush over here? The Rameir isli gzeres tikra. Maybe who the leisli gzeres tikra? It's because Rameir holds the gzeres tikra, and that's why you have to lift it up and put it. And you have not lifted it up; you have to put every other one. If we already heard this machlokas on yesterday's daf. Did not. The Sachem and the Sarim. Rabbi Huda says that you can use these wide boards, and the Charet doesn't hold a gzeres tikra. Rameir Oyser, because he does hold a gzeres tikra. So we already know that Rameir holds a gzeres tikra over there. So what is this whole point over here? So Reisha, the first Mishnah on yesterday's daf was actually the Sarim Meshupim Askina. It was actually a totally different thing. The boards were very smooth boards. They were not rough boards. So what? And the issue is because is Xeris Kalim. That if a person would look at these boards, you would maybe say that it's like a Kli. And of course you can't put a Kli on your Schach, as your Schach, because it's a Davar Shemakabel Tumah. So a person can make that mistake. So the Gemara says, one second, as you recall, we had this dispute about whether a person could use these types of arrows. So the Scharm, which has a point, you could use, but the Nekevus not, because it has a base kibble, even though it's Asnalimois, even though it's going to be completely filled in. So we said, what's the Chiddush? Obviously Zacharim are fine. So we say we're not Goyiz or Atu. So maybe we should also say you shouldn't make a Gzera here either. Why would you think that this is an issue? The truth is both Mishnayos are talking about the same thing. It's not talking about Gzeres Kalim, because there wouldn't be Goyiz or such a thing. So the question is, why does it mention it twice? So Seifa, Rabbi Hudahi. The latter of Mishnah is Rabbi Huda. What's that? He says, Amaika Asarta ben Asarim. What is your problem? In the previous Mishnah that you said there's an issue with these boards, Yishim Gzeres Tikra. So Hai Svarlo Beis Shamayhu, the Islahu, Beis Hillel Gazri. Clearly, the fact that Beis Hillel says you can do either one, you can be mafakbek, is because it's only the issue of Tassim and Aso. He doesn't hold a Gzeres Tikra, which L'chayra is in support to me. You sound like Beis Shammai. So the truth is, Rameir didn't really need to continue to bring it up. It was just a continuation of the conversation, as though to say, clearly the din and the halacha must be like me, not like you, Rameir, because according to you, you sound like the Shita Beis Shammai. That's why, that there's no argument over here. Now, Hanichlo Rav, if you remember yesterday, when we had this machlokus between Rabbi Yehuda and Rameir about these boards, the question is, how wide were the boards? Were the boards 4 tefachim, as we just established, or maybe the machlokus is by 4, it's definitely possible, but between 3 and 4, once it leaves the din of lavud, that's where the machlokus is. So Hanichlo Rav, the machlokus b'sheish ben arba. The whole machlokus is when it's 4. Your Meir Isli Gzeres Tikra, Rabbi Yehuda Leisli Gzeres Tikra, which is what we just said up until now. El Shmuel, the Yermi Mishain Behen Arba Machlokus, he says the Machlokus is when it's between 3 and 4. So if that's the case, these boards which are 4 tefachim, everyone holds this puzzle. So Seifa b'may pligi. So what exactly is going on in this Mishnah? So the answer is bebitul tikra kimifligi. The question is, does lifting up or loosening it cause it to lose the status of being a roof? Marsav or batal b'hachi, or marsav b'hachi will batala. If you're just mafakbek, will it remove the status of it becoming an issue? And therefore, that is the entirety of the machlokas. Question 5. Tikra shenolem mazeva. It's hello on mafakbek o noitel. Rameir o noitel ve'ena mafakbek. But my commitment to Rameir ubeis hillel liba du Rabbi Yehuda. So what exactly is the argument here? So according to Rav Meir and Rabbi Yehuda are going to shitasam, that they argue with regard to boards that are exactly 4 tefachim. And the question is there an issue of Gzeres Tikra or not an issue of Gzeres Tikra? Beis Hillel holds of Gzeres Tikra, Beis Shammai of Tassim and Aso, he doesn't hold of Gzeres Tikra, Beis Shammai does. And Rameir says no, they don't argue at all. Or L'Shmuel pligi b'bittul Tikra. If you lift it up, moichiach will be proof. Shiodea psul shel tasman asoy. You obviously are showing that you know there's an issue of tasman asoy. The sulekul migzar, and therefore once we see you know the din of tasman asoy, there's no reason to be geyser gzeres tikra on you. O loshna, or do we say there's no difference? Okay, let's see the next Mishnah. A person who puts for their schach many shvudin, a lot of spits of metal. Oh, b'arko hamita. or with the length of a bed, which is schach basel. So im yesh revich beneim k'moisen shera. If there's the same amount of space between them, as you can see, at least this picture on the top is where you have shvudim and you have schach kosher. So if it's exactly in between, 50-50, exact, mitzamtzem, then it's kosher. And then the Mishnah says that which we've said before regarding this case of the haystack. So we said, Eino Succah, this is Tasav and Aso, it's Mamish and Isidir, right? So it's nothing. It's not that, like we said by Chadili Kash, it's Ein Masachin Bahen, which means really it's Midirais, it's okay, it's just because there's Oitzer. So no, we say it's completely an issue. So Layman Tav Tetu after Rav Huna. Our Mishnah is a direct contradiction to this statement that we're now going to see. The Idmar. Parts Ka'oimid. Let's say a person has exactly 50-50. And Rashi says, Le'inin Mechitzo Shabbos Idmar. When it comes to the walls on Shabbos, for it to be a halachic wall to be able to create, let's say Rosh Hashanah, the walls have to have more wall than airspace. So what does he say? If it's exactly 50-50, Rav Papa Omer Mutter, Rav Huna Bar Yeshua Omer Aser. So it's clear, not like our Mishnah, the sheet of Rav Huna Bar Yeshua. How can he say it's Aser? Our Mishnah says 50-50 up there for your slach is fine. So it's similar to this case of parts is Ka'oimid. Samlach Rav Huna Bar Yeshua, my Kemoisan, Benichnas V'Yotzit. It doesn't mean literally 50-50, but enough that you could take it in and take it out. Namely, that you could still move the schach kosher and put it into this place, which means there's going to be a little bit more schach kosher than schach basel. So therefore, that is, again, it's not a raya, because clearly it says, V'aver yoyser al shvudin. The air where you're going to put the schach kosher has to be more than the space of where you put the spits. So even though it says it sounds like it's 50-50, but physically it's impossible to have them right next to each other. You need to have some space to be able to put in your hands in between, and therefore that space needs to be schach kosher. As we continue to test Vav Amud Beis. Abu Hashel Sam saying. So the Gemara is thinking, says Rashi, Kosach Hadata Dahai, the Kamatarts Benechnas V'Yoytzi, Hachamatarts. Kol Kemosu Benechnas V'Yoytzi, Hu Stamahu, Benechnas V'Yoytzi, the Ein Derech L'Samse. It's not exact, it's not normally exact. So Ravami B'Madif, as we say, you're right, you have to make it a little bit more. Rabbi Omer Afil Tema B'Shein Ma'adif, even if it's not Ma'adif, which means it could be 50% of the material is Shvudin, 50% is schach kosher, which we know the warp and the woof that are in different directions. So if you put it in put the schach pasel, the shvud in this way, you can put the schach kosher over it, or vice versa. And this way, what ends up happening is it covers over much of it, and therefore really you end up having more schach kosher. Okay, fine. Again, this is a very lengthy taisus over here, which talks about the din of Shabbos, etc. Ein Sham. O Barucha is Hamita. So he said that if you use for the schach these pieces of the bed, and we'll see these are the two different diagrams of the bed frames that we're talking about. So Gemara says, "Lei Masaili Rav Ami Bar Tivyoimi." What's the proof? Yom Rav Ami Bar Tivyoimi Succah Bivloi Kelim Sul. A person will use Bivloi Kelim, Rashi says, is rags, which are not 3x3, says Rashi, first wide line. Diafal Gav the Hashtal of Makabal Tuma. Even though now it's not Makabal Tuma, Kivan Dimikli Asu, it did come from a Kli, Gazim Rabbanon. So the Rabbanon are geyser on such rags. So Ruchos Nami, says Rashi, Hashtal Mikabal Tuma, even though they're not part of bed frames anymore, it's like they're all pieces of it, so it's not doesn't really have any utility. It says Rashi l'chazul midi has no purpose. Ella mikli ka'asu, but since it came from a kli, it'll pass it. So just like this bloy kalim, which is puzzle for schach, so too when it comes to these bed frames. So it's approved. So the answer is no. Ki diyam Rav Chanan amar Rabbi baruchav b'shtei karayim. The length and its two sides. V'katzar b'shtei karayim. So achana baruchav b'shtei karayim. V'katzar b'shtei karayim. So what exactly is this answer? So Rashi says like this. That frame, which is the width part of the bed of Mita, on the side of its head and its feet. So what exactly is this talking about? As we continue to test Zayin Madal. Mita, when it comes to a bed, metamis chavila or metaharis chavila. It's tahar and tameh only when it is chavila, says Rashi biyachad. If it's all one piece, that is how it's able to become tameh or tahar, says Rashi. Im tamehi ein tvila oila lo ivar mevarim ella misakno matvila. You can't just put it into different pieces and then immerse it. It has to all go in one shot, all attached. Chacham Amrim metamas ivarim metaharis ivarim. It's not true. According to them, even if it's in different pieces, it still could become tameh, and you can still be mataris. So where it says, my nihu, how is that possible? In other words, what utility does this have that we're going to say it has some value as a kli when it's only these pieces? So Rabbi, this is what he said. Arucha b'shtei karayim, katzar b'shtei karayim. So my chazan, the question is, how is that helpful? Because it has to be a kli. So how is it? What's the its utilities? So our answer is, we'll stop with this last line. L'mismachinhu aguda. If you rest it like near a fence, v'leis of alayhu umashta ashli, and you rest it upon it, and you tie ropes around it. It says Rashi, v'noisen chavolim u'masareg v'roi l'mishkav u'matama medris. Now it becomes like a bed, as you can see over here. Even though you don't have the entire frame, but you could still use it as a bed by resting up against the wall and using some of the frame, and then tying it up with these ropes. So it's almost like a little hammock of sorts, and that would be sufficient for you to be able to sit. And therefore, since you could sit there, it's tumas medris, of lying on it. And therefore, for that reason, this part of the bed still has utility. So therefore, that's the reason why it's possible for schach. So lav dafka is an araya when it comes to these rags. Not necessarily do we say the din, just like there. It's not a kli, but it's not. It was a kli. It's not a kli now. No, it still is considered like a kli because it still has utility. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's see a couple of questions. Rav Ami bar Tubion. This is question 6. Succah begadin psula. Madu psula umatana bebraisa kivasi to Rav Ami. So he said kibandim kli. The Makabal Tuma Kasi. Since it came from a Kli, which is Makabal Tuma, goes Rabbanon to Kli HaMakabal Tuma. Even though right now it's not a Kli, but it came from a Kli. So since it came from a Kli, if we allow you to use it, a person will think you could actually use an actual Kli for Schach Posel, for Schach I should say, and you can't because it's Makabal Tuma. The leftovers of mats or beds, then L'sachin Ba, even though it doesn't have the measurement to be makabel tuma, nonetheless that is the din. Okay. TA25. Hamikaris sukkos b'shvudin. A person used these spits of aruchas amita. Imi yeshrebach menem k'maisin kshera. Maduak kshera. Why is it kosher? 3 answers. great. That's a great question. 3 answers. One is because you hold parts koim but is kosher. 50-50 is good. Or it's b'madif, that you have to make it a little bit more than 50%. Or im hayu shesi, nice and erev, as we said, doing the warp and the woof. Okay. That was TA25. TB27. Tikra Shenaleh Mazeva, so which is the beginning of what we saw in today's daf. So we said because he holds this issue is passive and also. So you can do either one. Tikra Shmuel Desvirule Beneser Dalu Kul Yama Moidin Shipsula. So according to Shmuel, he holds that Beis Hillel holds a libid or Yehuda the Babitl Tikra Kivan de Bitla, since you're mavatal it by lifting up the schach, or right, these boards, and it was proof that you did this, Shatikra Psula Sulekla Migzar. So once you've done this, there's no reason to be geyser Gezer's Tikra on you anymore, according to that sheet. Of course, according to Beis Shammai, he says no. The fakvek is not enough. You have to be noitel achas minutayim. Adkan.